Welcome back to the show, Matt. We're going to speak with David Tytell here in a moment. And maybe I can ask you first to get us started, like what you hope to hear out of our conversation with him, and then we'll welcome him in.
Yeah, great to see you, Jared. Thanks for having me. Very glad to welcome David Tytell as well. He always brings great insights, and his experience and background are deep. So, what I hope to gain today, what I'm hoping to get out of the conversation, I'm going to put you on the spot, David. When we talked a few weeks ago, one of the things that really stood out to me was you describing the mission of MIT Health and what that means to you. So I just want to hear more about that and more about your experience and what you have to tell to, perhaps the next generation of marketers that are up and coming.
Thank you so much. Let me take a step back and just make sure everybody knows who we are and what we do. So, we're an ambulatory care center on the MIT campus. We have a satellite location at Lincoln Laboratory for our Lexington employees that work at Lincoln Laboratory. And we are here for the MIT community. We are here to keep everybody healthy. Our job is to make sure that the genius professors and genius researchers that make up MIT can do the work they need to do to make the world a better place. We're here to make sure the students that are here that are learning those skills are healthy enough to take their classes and learn what they need to learn. And equally important to all that, we're here to make sure that the administrative underpinning of all of that is here to support the infrastructure to make sure that the innovations can happen, the discoveries can happen, the Nobel Prize winning work can happen. None of it happens unless everybody's healthy. And we're here to make sure that everybody's healthy. So I really see our jobs as core to the MIT mission. Our mission statement is building a healthier MIT so MIT can build a better world. And I think we live that every day.
That was one thing that stuck out to both of us as we got to know you a little bit recently. I'd love to kind of take us back to earlier parts in your career because we definitely want to hear kind of where you are right now, what that role involves, and how it was influenced by moments earlier in your career. Where are you now? What are you doing now? Kind of some of those key responsibilities, and then what are some of those moments? We'll dive into earlier in your career that things that have influenced where you got to.
So right now I'm the director of marketing and communications at MIT Health. And the key thing I'm working on right now is really it's public health information is the most important thing. It's making sure people know how to get the care they need to be healthy, but it's also navigating the United States healthcare system. MIT has a huge international population of the greatest minds from around the world that come here. And it's not always even a language barrier. If you grew up in Canada, if you grew up in the United Kingdom, you don't necessarily know how to navigate healthcare in the United States. We're kind of a weird place in that regard. And part of our job is not just to make sure that care delivery happens, but teaching people the skills to be able to self advocate, to be able to navigate the healthcare system in the United States is one of our core missions here in the marketing and communication team. Of course, we want to drive patient acquisition. Of course, we want to drive patient retention. Those are all table stakes. But here at the university level, there's a higher level above all that, which is really core to the educational mission of the university. And we're part of that as well. So that's a big piece of what I'm doing. So that was your first question. The second question I effectively is how did I get here, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Back in my early career, I used to be an astronomer. And I was at Caltech and I was studying astronomy and planetary science and using the Hubble Space Telescope and traveling to Hawaii and using Keck Observatory and using spacecraft data of Mars and Jupiter and having a great time. But what I realized was, as much fun as that was, doing that research wasn't nearly as much fun as telling people the story of the research. So I pivoted and I got my master's degree in science journalism. And I did astronomy reporting for a while. I actually worked at America's Test Kitchen for a while doing food science. And then I moved into healthcare. And the reason I moved into healthcare was really because I saw it as a science communication gig. It's about taking complex concepts and distilling them down and educating the public for their good, for everybody's health. So it's a job that I can be very proud of. It's a job that I take a lot of pride in. I see the importance of it. no more so than during COVID, for example. But at the end of the day, I see myself as a science communicator, and everything I do is about education.
So I'd say that's pretty unique. That might be the first time, Matt, that I've heard of that as the start to a career where someone's currently in any kind of healthcare marketing role.
I think the key to all of that is the pivot. It's about understanding what your skills are, what your passions are, and knowing how to take those transferable skills and apply them in a different way. So I knew I had a passion for telling the story of science. And where are fields that I can do that? So I did it in food science, I did it in astronomy, and for the past nearly 14 years, I've been doing it in the healthcare space. But it's all the same idea. It's just pivoting and using those skills in a different way.
So what else would you share with somebody who's earlier in this field, who's maybe an emerging leader, or let's just say this have only a few years of experience under their belt in marketing in particular? How do you help them build credibility? Like, how do you help them succeed? Or like, what advice do you give them for working through the relationship side? So that's usually operational and clinical leaders. It's usually others in the organization who don't have a marketing role, but marketing doesn't work unless those relationships are really solid. What do you tell them?
So I think the key thing to remember at all times is that our job is one of these jobs that's really all about influence without authority. So it's all about making friends and it's about building relationships. I try to be helpful to everybody whenever I can, if ever I can. I'm always willing to drop everything to help out any of my colleagues, whether at the lowest levels of the organization or the highest levels of the organization. I don't care. I'm here to help. I'm here to help the cause. If you're willing to do that for other people, people tend to be willing to do it for you. And our jobs are all about making ask after ask after ask. And there needs to be receptivity there. And if you're not willing to go to bat for the people you're asking things from, they're not necessarily going to be willing to go to bat for you. So you've always got to be willing and able and carve out the time to be there for your peers and colleagues. Because at the end of the day, you need them. And if you're not willing to be there for them, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard sell. It's going to be a hard sell to get them to do what you need them to do.
Yeah, and I think that's really well said, David. And I think in some ways it goes counter to a lot of advice. My background is in the tech industry, and it seems as you're getting started, it's just go fast, go hard, and don't worry about the people you run over along the way. And everyone learns that's not how the world works. So yeah, really glad that's really good advice. Cuts across all the boundaries.
I'll add one thing to it, which is you need to share in successes and make sure that successes are everybody's successes. Our job is to be the cheerleaders, and our job is to get everybody excited whenever we can, if ever we can. And that means when we hit home runs, they're everybody's victory. And you need to make sure that everybody feels ownership in that. And everybody feels a sense of accomplishment and a sense of pride when those victories happen, because then they're going to be excited to be part of a different victory and another opportunity. And they're going to be willing to take risks with you. And they're going to be willing to stick their neck out with you because they've had that taste of what it's like to be part of something successful. So you have to you gotta open arms, include everybody when you have those victories. You know, it is team, team, team. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think again, great insights, David. And I did want to just touch on something you said just a moment ago about when you're sharing victories that equips and empowers people to be willing to take more risks with you. So can you think back, just in the past few years, a risk that you asked your team to take that led to a victory?
We used to do campus-wide flu clinics that thousands of immunizations in a day. And I challenged the entire staff, including the entire clinical staff, to see if we could do 10,000 flu vaccines in a single day. We didn't quite hit it. We hit about 9,870 something. But man, oh man, was everybody excited and everybody wanted to be a part of it. And we were giving out stickers that had the number of which number you were. And we got the campus excited about it. And people were coming home and coming back to their labs and going back to their classes with their sticker 5,238. They're like, oh, I got to get in on this. We actually had a dorm room that was graphing the numbers with time and had a live graph going to mark our progress as we went to see if we'd hit it. And it was 10K in one day. This was a risky thing to do. It was throwing so many resources, so much time, so much energy into something to create a culture around immunizations and the importance of immunization. And this campus got it. That was 2019. 2020 came around. Suddenly, I had a campus that needed COVID vaccinations. And we had already trained everybody, A, how to do large scale vaccination clinics if we needed to, and B, we trained the culture and the culture of everybody from the third shift pipe fitters and the groundskeepers to the Nobel laureates understood the importance of vaccinations and was part of it and understood that was part of the culture of MIT and followed the science. And the vaccine hesitancy we had to deal with, there was some, but it was minimal. And I think a large, huge part of that was because we were willing to take the risk to try to do an audacious thing like get 10,000 flu vaccines in a day. And even though we didn't hit 10K, it didn't matter. We still won and everybody was healthy. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. We need to keep this campus healthy. And that's what we did.
What a great story of working as a team and just setting the stage for, future success that you couldn't have predicted.
No, absolutely
Laying the
not.
groundwork, building that culture, like you said, that's amazing. Shifting gears a little bit, uh, when you're thinking about current trends or issues that you're thinking about that are on your radar screen, what's kind of, what are you keeping your eye on right now?
Well, I mean, like everybody on planet Earth right now, I'm keeping an eye on AI. But when I focus on AI, I focus on smart ways to use it. AI is not a replacement, it's something that augments our work. It's, when used properly, minimizes the amount of effort we need to put in, cutting out, I don't know, 20%, 50%, when we're lucky, 60 or 70%. But it's never a be all and end all. It never does 100% of the work. So it's all about how do you use these tools wisely to make our work more efficient, and what can we do with the extra time we gain that's innovative and creative and cutting edge that we might not have had time to do or create or innovate or think about otherwise if it weren't for this tool that has freed up our schedules to a point. And that's the key thing. It's to a point. I think the mistake that a lot of people are doing is they're turning to AI to be the tool to write for them. It's an idea generator. It's a way to iterate. It's a way to brainstorm. But we're content creators. We are talented. We have this job for a reason. And I think there are people out there that are just leaning on AI as a crutch rather than using it as a tool for innovation. And that's a mistake. So I'm watching that trend and I'm I'm saying, where is this going and how can we use these tools to really take things to the next level and give ourselves the amount of time and space by being more efficient to be able to innovate and grow.
I really like how you framed it about AI being, an augment or augmentation, not a replacement. And, uh, I think what you said about freeing up time to enable us to use more of our creativity, to use more of our soft skills, so to speak, is a really important topic. Are there any practical tips for how marketers or teams can use it to free up time, like you're chatting about?
So I'll give you an example of how I use AI regularly. Is we have to do a lot of FAQs. We have to dive deep and explain a lot of things. I don't use AI to get the answers. I use it to generate the questions. Because when I look and I can write prompts of what are the top 25 concerns about topic X that this demographic might have, odds are it's going to come up with one or two things I haven't thought of. I don't care about their answers. Frankly, their answers are usually garbage. The questions really get me thinking about additional questions and additional ideas. They really spark creativity on my part. So I start thinking about better ways of tackling this problem and explaining this issue that I'm trying to explain clearly and coherently. So that's really what I use it for. And I think that's what I mean by using it as a tool. The mistake I think people make is they ask the questions and then they copy and paste the answers. That's not our job. Our job is to come up with those answers in a way that resonates with our audience. And again, it all comes back to audience. You know your audience best. AI does not know your audience best, but it might inspire some questions and some approaches you can take to communicate to your audience.
I'm 100% going to steal that because I'm definitely guilty of looking for answers, but I think there's just power in building out their framework of questions. That makes a lot of sense.
I think I want to give you a final word here, David, on any other insights that maybe a direction we haven't gone yet or a little deeper somewhere. Just I want to give you a final word about anything else that you'd like to share with a primarily healthcare marketing audience, at least those who are in and around and adjacent to that daily work of keeping people healthy and the communications that go on around that. Anything else we haven't mentioned yet?
Okay. Well, I think the most important thing of all is that we are communicators. And at the end of the day, as I was just saying, the number one thing is the audience. It is critical, non negotiable, that you understand your audience fluently and you understand how to communicate with them fluently. And something that I think we all need to keep in mind at all times, and I try to remind myself of every day, is our audience is not your typical audience. People come into our facilities scared, vulnerable. They don't feel well. They're worried about a loved one. They're worried about how they're going to pay for a service. They have no power. They're suddenly powerless. Some of this, people who are CEOs and presidents of organizations and Nobel Prize laureates, suddenly health doesn't care. Illness doesn't care. These powerful, powerful people are suddenly powerless. We need to rise to the occasion, and we need to remember that the thing that is the most important of all is empathy. And we need to remember in all of our communications that the people we're working for, the people we're communicating to, the people we're marketing to are not at their best in them. They're scared. They're worried. They feel lousy. They might be dying. Their loved ones might be dying. We need to remember that at all times, and we need to be empathetic in everything we do. This isn't selling a widget. This isn't trying to squeeze every penny out of somebody that we can. These are human beings. And it is a business, and we do need to be profitable so we can keep everybody healthy, but we need to be empathetic while we do it.
So, David, great conversation. Really appreciate the time. And thanks for everything you're doing in this field, first off. And thanks for sharing, giving us a little bit of a look inside of what's gotten you to where you are today, what some of those focus areas are. And we look forward to just keeping in touch and hearing what great things are going on with you and the team there.
Absolutely. It's always fun chatting with you guys.